I've got the looks and the charm of an old movie star. Cary Grant, if you will, so I find it bizarre that this girl should refuse to step into my car. She must be shy, she'll come around, it's just a matter of time. Aurora, Aurora, Aurora.
Hey there, movie fans, and welcome to Screen Snark, a show dedicated to the movies that are in our eyes, on our minds, and in our hearts. I am Rachel Quirky Shank.
And I am DJ Stormageddon, a.k.a. Matt Storm.
DJ Stormageddon. Ooh, giving himself an honorific, I guess? Is that what that is? When you...
I guess so. Title. Maybe.
Dr. DJ Stormageddon.
I felt very old school radio. For the listeners who don't know, we are actually not in the same room for a change.
They might be able to tell, depending on how this goes.
Right. Rachel is in Astoria with our guest, Austin, who we'll introduce in a moment. And I am in Brooklyn, where we normally record.
Yeah.
We are doing it on a distance this time.
Trying it out.
But trying it out, seeing how it goes.
Oh, no, I miss being in your space.
You're welcome in my space anytime.
And seeing your wife?
She's actually not home tonight.
Oh, well, then I don't care.
Then it doesn't matter.
Then I am glad. Fuck it.
Good.
No, I miss you too.
But Austin, thank you for joining us and being our guest.
Yes,
Not a problem. It's
welcome
a
to the
pleasure.
podcast, Austin Chason, yoga master, audio daddy, dungeon master, sex kitten. I don't know. One of my nearest and dearest, to be sure.
Two episodes in a row when we've had masterful DMs on our podcast.
It's true.
Oh, wow.
What are we gonna do?
Have a third.
What are your games of choice, Austin?
I really like Dungeons and Dragons.
Hell yeah.
It's a good one.
Dungeons and Dragons, a good one.
Yeah, that's the only one that I've DM'd. I also want to get into Edge of the Empire.
Edge of the Empire is a lot of fun.
Yeah. I've played it. I have just never GM'd it before.
Yeah.
I hear that.
It's a weird mechanic, but it's fine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wasn't a big fan of the dice.
Yeah.
But that's
It takes getting used to, but it can be fun. I'm not a GM or a DM myself. I prefer to be a player. I tried writing a campaign once, and I got like 5 minutes into writing it, and I was like, nope, this is not for me.
Oh, I keep buying core rule books and going, ooh, I really want to play this one. And I'm like, oh, I have to make up a story, don't I?
Yeah, that kind of goes with it.
Yeah, no. One day, maybe.
I believe in you.
Thank you. I'll probably end up having to do one for the other podcast, the lesser podcast.
Well, I still want you to DM that or GM that My Little Pony one.
Oh, hell yeah, for real.
Oh yeah, you told me about that one. Yeah, that one I'd get in on, and I don't even like My Little Pony, but that sounded awesome.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
It's the dumbest thing of all time, for real. It's just, we're friends. How do we work together to move a table?
The power of friendship.
By the magical power of friendship.
The power of friendship is actually a good segue for my movie as we get into our normal discussion of all the movies we've seen. So I wasn't sure what to watch. A little inside baseball. Rachel and I recorded the episode with Case only a few days earlier from this.
Yeah.
We're trying to bank some stuff, conflicting schedules and doing lots of different stuff. We want to try and bank some episodes. But that said, I had to sit down and go out of my way to watch a movie because I don't watch movies very frequently.
Agreed.
I watch more TV. Like I, for some reason, have become obsessed with the TV show Suits out of nowhere.
Ooh, we should really make the distinction that we can talk about TV too. We should really talk about that later. Maybe not on
We
air.
should.
I would talk some Star Trek.
Hell yeah.
Yes. I was mourning the loss of Burn Notice, which I recently finished.
Ooh.
And I like the Blue Sky shows. I like the USA shows. And my wife has watched Suits for a long time. And I always thought the lead actor was very handsome. So I was like, let's go check out this show. Plus, I'll watch Gina Torres be a badass in anything.
Hell yes.
Because I love her. But yeah, so I've been obsessed with that. So I had to go out of my way to watch a movie. So I actually decided to watch something that's been on my radar for a while, but got really bad reviews, which is the movie Bright, which was a full-length feature released by Netflix.
Yes.
And so for those not familiar listening, Bright is about a human cop and an orc cop who are forced to work together in a world where orcs, elves, fairies exist in a fairly modern realm. A lot of people compare it to Shadowrun, though I don't think it was officially a Shadowrun movie. That's the kind of world that it's mostly compared to. And it's about beat cops who get caught up in some crazy magic-related shit. And on the whole, I thought it was an interesting movie, and I thought it was a cool movie.
You are already leaning toward the kindest review for Bright I've ever heard.
So I will be clear, it's not a good movie. The pacing is completely off, and there's so much forced comedy in it. And what kills me about it is I'm someone who genuinely loves Will Smith. I love a lot of his movies, even the not great ones. Like, I really liked Hancock when nobody did. I thought it was interesting, it was different, it wasn't necessarily great, but it was a cool role. The problem with this role is there's a lot of Will Smith being Will Smith, but not a lot of the movie to back it up.
Yeah.
Like, he's still charming. He's still got one-liners. He's still brazen and all of the stuff you expect from Will Smith in almost any role. But the script doesn't really back it up. And there's comedy beats that are not funny. There are awkward moments that are meant to serve as comedy that don't make sense in the movie. The special effects were really cool. I thought the way they depicted the orcs and the elves and the humans and fairies and some other things were really interesting. How they handled magic, all of that seemed interesting. And it would have been better if it were in a better movie.
Yeah.
Also, the actor whose name I'm blanking on, everybody take a shot, who played the lead orc character, his partner, who I've seen in a ton of stuff as a character actor, was phenomenal. I thought his character was great. And I get that this was an allegory for
race
relations.
Oof.
And racism in this country and all of that. And I totally got that.
Today, fairy lives don't matter. What the fuck, movie?
Yeah, like, it's just one of those things where it was so heavy-handed and there wasn't good enough writing. Like, I've seen tons of heavy-handed movies that handle race relations better, or they don't even have to be heavy-handed to do it. Like, Zootopia was a phenomenal movie about race relations that wasn't heavy-handed at all.
Exactly.
And super clear. And it was just dealing with animals, and it was a kid's movie, and it was still well done. What I think the problem here is they weren't sure whether they wanted to make a drama, an action movie, a comedy, or a social movie to raise social awareness. Like, it was trying to do too many things at once.
I get that.
The big thing also that I had an issue with is, like, Will Smith, was being Will Smith more or less, and his scene partner through most of the movie, who played the orc, both were really good together, but, like, their interactions with any other character in the movie felt flat. Like, Margaret Cho is in this movie.
Yeah.
She's not funny. She plays the captain of the police department, which is fine. I'm totally here for comedians doing drama.
Yeah.
But she was so underused. She wasn't larger than life. She didn't have any memorable moments. She was just kind of there.
Yeah.
And I get that maybe she wanted to do it, maybe it was bigger, maybe it changed in the edits, but Margaret Cho is a huge name and a great actress. And to use her in such a plain and boring way, when she was in major story plot scenes early in the movie, it's like, why?
Yeah.
Why bother?
Yeah, the closest I've gotten to experiencing Bright was the Lindsay Ellis video essay all about Bright.
I'll have to watch it.
As someone who's seen it, please watch it and report back to me, because honestly, watching her analysis of it was all the Bright I needed. I was like, nope, I'm good. Just like watching this thing get universally panned. Just like, I don't want to waste my time. There's too much consumable media.
Yeah, it was one of those things that at the time it came out, I was not interested. It seemed very boring. But today, after watching a ton of dramedy, like I said, I've been watching a lot of Suits, which is lighter in the first season, and now I'm into the second season. It's getting much heavier. I was like, okay, let me watch something a little more fanciful that I know is still a drama, but maybe there's something to it. And it also just felt different from everything else I've been watching. I mean, yes, it's still a nerdy property. It's still dealing with orcs and elves, but like I've watched and talked about so many superhero movies on this show that I wanted to go elsewhere. And so I went with something that was closer to D&D and fantasy, but in a modern setting, which seemed really cool in concept.
Everything about that movie looked like it would check off like my nerd boxes. My nerd boxes.
Your nerd boxes.
But in execution, everything about it just feels like Netflix was trying to do something, because Netflix is just doing too much. Just across
That's
the
also
board.
true.
Slow down, Netflix. Just shut it down. Calm your shit.
Just take a moment.
And it's one of those weird influxes of like, you didn't nail it, Netflix.
No.
Well, also, when you start creating so much content like Netflix is doing, not everything can be good.
Yeah.
No.
Sure.
I mean, and plenty of things have suffered for that. It's why I fell out of love with the Marvel Netflix series, which I wouldn't even say are bad. Like, I haven't watched Jessica Jones season 2, and I don't think it's because it's bad, because I'm sure it's phenomenal.
No, the Defenders just ruined everything.
Well, Defenders made it hard because it was so bad. Iron Fist made it hard because the first season was so bad. But also, there's just so much of it. And so, like, that's why I missed Bright the first time around besides the reviews, is because it just come out at a time where there was so much other stuff. And I felt like I could watch whatever other movie is out there that was in theaters. But this is, like, I haven't sat and watched a lot of Netflix feature films. And so I figured I'd start with one that I'd heard a lot about, good or bad. But at the end of the day, I was still on board for the two male leads. I love Will Smith and everything. Like, I unabashedly just love him as an actor.
Yeah.
But he was a waste in this role because Will Smith was being Will Smith, which is fine, but he didn't get to be funny Will Smith or emotional Will Smith. He was just kind of bland, pseudo charming Will Smith, and the movie didn't need him. Like, if they had gotten some. I feel like if there was a no-name actor in that lead role, they would have taken more risks. But because it was Will Smith, they made it as safe and plain as possible.
Isn't that weird? Isn't that a
So
weird
weird.
mechanic where it's just like, let's make safe choices because Will Smith is attached versus let's make bold choices and real choices and fun choices and actually create a successful piece because we made really good, crazy choices. Like, that's why I really liked, to bring it back to another Netflix property, I liked Bandersnatch. I liked
Still
that
haven't seen it.
they just, like, they went for it. And they had a lot of unknown actors in roles just, like, kind of fucking around and having a good time. And I think that paid off. Maybe not in the best way. Like, I don't feel that Bandersnatch was the most successful Netflix movie property, but it tried something and it was bold, and I think I can appreciate that. But it's kind of crazy to know that putting a lead actor in something means, ooh, we gotta do a by the numbers orchestration versus a really cool, like, interesting thing. Speaking of really weird and cool and interesting, you're talking about how Bright was doing a lot of genre mixing.
Yeah.
I actually was just at the most recent George Lucas talk show with Connor Ratliff doing an impression of George Lucas and interviewing different celebrities. And one of the people that was there was the guy who was writing Men in Black. Like, he was one of the writers on that movie. And apparently Tommy Lee Jones was having a really difficult time on that shoot. And he looked at this writer and was like, is this a sci-fi or is it a comedy? Make up your mind, asshole. Because he just didn't know what genre he was dealing with, which I think is amazing. Yeah.
I mean, also at that time, it was like Ghostbusters set the standard for a sci-fi comedy, but there weren't many others at that point. Men in Black kind of ushered in a new era of those kinds of movies. They existed, but I don't think there were a lot of them.
No, like the mixing of genres kind of had its start with with the Ghostbusters and then sort of leaning into Sam Raimi's Evil Dead.
Yeah.
I think when Sam Raimi was just like, you know what have similar beats? Horror and comedy. Did you know? Check this shit out, my
Those
dudes.
two things go well.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think at the end of the day, the reason Bright is so frustrating for so many people and why I was just like, it was okay, is I had lower expectations going into it. So the fact that I didn't stop watching it meant it did something above, like, say, the recent Transformers movies, which I could barely watch.
Incomprehensible.
Right. This at least was, I could follow the story. There were interesting moments, but I think at the end of the day, it bothers me when an actor that I know is so capable and so good does average work. Like, and this is not the first time he's done average work. And I without having seen Suicide Squad, I guarantee his performance was almost the same in that. I haven't seen it, so I can't say.
I've seen
but
it,
I would
and I
say,
can't remember.
Right. And so that's why I feel like it's really frustrating, because I feel like if they had a no-name actor and took some risks, or even someone else that wasn't Will Smith, like, because Will Smith lends expectations to a type of movie that Bright could have been, that it wasn't. Like, going into it, I expected some awkward moments, some laugh out loud moments, some really cool action, and like, even the action was kind of boring. The shootouts were kind of boring. And I get it. They were trying to do like a real police kind of follow the cops movie vibe to make it feel realistic in this fantastical world. And I get that. But like, yeah, I don't know. I think at the end of the day, fantasy no fun is my 3-word review.
Ooh, fantasy no fun. I like that.
An almost sentence this time. I guess the closest I'll get to a non-sentence. But yeah, I don't know. I wanted to really like it, and I liked moments of it, but at the end of the day, I would never watch it again and probably not recommend it.
Yeah, no way. No way. I haven't even seen it, and I won't recommend it. Austin, have you seen Bright?
I saw posters for it in the subway, and it looked fantastic. So kudos to that marketing team.
It's like it's the Fire Festival of Netflix movies. It tried to promise something it couldn't deliver.
I would say because you like D&D, it might be worth watching just to see the dynamics of the different races. But you don't have to watch the whole movie to see that.
Don't tell Austin this, because he'll watch it and then our campaign will become Bright, and I am not okay with that.
Okay.
I'm gonna watch it.
God damn it!
All right. You can blame me later.
I
All
will.
right, Rachel,
I'll blame you a lot.
What was your movie, Rachel? As you take a drink of water and can't answer?
Yeah.
So I'll fill the time.
Just catch me. Catch me outside. How about that? I, too, had a conundrum of I didn't want to bring the same movie to our record. So last night, when I was hanging out at home, I was perusing all of the streaming options and discovered that a particular Walt Disney animated not classic was available for rental.
Huh.
That was The Black Cauldron, babies.
Ooh.
Ooh, indeed. I'd never seen The Black Cauldron.
Oh, it's a good one.
And
Wow.
it has forever been on my list of I really want to watch this and know it and understand it and like participate in the cultural zeitgeist around it. So I rented it off of the Supervillains streaming website, like you do, whatever. And it was okay.
Yeah, it's funny. I know I saw Black Cauldron as a kid, but gun to my head, if you wanted to know the plot, I could not tell you right now.
I'm honestly super surprised because this movie has been like, ooh, this is the movie Disney tried to bury. This is so dark and so sinister that it was one of the first animated films to go through cuts after screenings. Like, this entire boogeyman story about this movie has just like pervaded my consciousness about it. And so I was like, ooh, how dark and gritty is it gonna be? Ooh, I'm so, and then I was like, oh no, it's fine. It's a movie, you know, it's animated. There's this weird Gollum-esque adorable sidekick, I guess, and
His name's Gurgi, right?
Gurgi, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
Gurgi.
Gurgi, the hero of us all, though.
Crunchies and munchies.
Crunchies and munchies, my dudes. And it's fine. That's like
What year did it come out?
85. It came out in 85. I looked at the trivia hoping to glean something more interesting about it. And all it is it's one of the first instances of an animation team using like proto CGI. So they were utilizing real life images and processing them so they could build them to scale in the animation. So the floating orb that Princess... Nope. That name's really hard to remember. Elowin?
It's okay. Sure.
Something like that. The princess character, who I loved, was a really strong character. Really very for that. But her little bubble was CGI, and the boat when they're trying to make the escape was CGI, and it really just, on a storytelling level, it just seemed like a lot of and then, if you know what I mean.
Yeah,
where
like things keep happening just because things need to happen.
Yeah, the boy has to leave with the pig, and then he meets the fuzzy, weirdo Gollum-esque character, and then the pig runs away, and then the pig is captured, and then he's captured, and then he meets the princess, and then they escape. Nothing ever felt consequential in the telling of the story. And I know it's based off a series of novels, and I'm more interested to see the novels to read how this story plays out, because I imagine it's very interesting, but the way that it's been translated and watered down, it doesn't seem great. And even like the cursory research I did about it, where some scenes were cut, I don't think scenes were cut that were crucial. I think scenes were cut that were scary. So I'm not sure if being presented with the uncut version of this would make it better. It just seems like, and then they meet the bard, and then they run away, and then they find the cauldron, and then the cauldron is found by the bad guy, and then he throws a body into the cauldron, and then Gurgi jumps into the cauldron. Spoiler alert for Black Cauldron. Fuck. And then
I think you're okay on spoilers.
they trade the cauldron for Gurgi, and just it's just stuff happened, and then more stuff happened, and it just it lacked the dips and the rises of a traditional hero story for me.
I think also part of it, at least for me, is I feel like there's an embarrassment of riches of really strong animated movies now. You know, whereas, like, growing up, I mean, there are tons of movies that I still love from my childhood that were animated. Like, I still love Aladdin to this day, and the movie has tons of flaws.
Yeah, but it doesn't end then and then and then.
Right. And I think part of the problem with a lot of those older animated flicks is, like, the goal was kids. It wasn't adults and kids. And so...
hard disagree on Black Cauldron, because Black Cauldron was an attempt by Disney to reach out to teens.
That's true.
They were trying to build something fantastical and weirdly dark and gritty because they had just seen the success of, I think it was Rankin Bass who did The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings.
Oh, yes.
You know, so there was something to animation for an older audience. And that's what Dark Crystal. That's what Black Cauldron was trying to get at. But then backed away from it the last second.
Yeah, I think maybe for me, more what I'm saying is when Disney focuses on just a subset instead of a large mass group, the films tend to be weirdly isolating.
They don't get it. They don't know how to appeal to a small group.
Yeah.
They only know how to appeal to the old group.
Yeah, I think that's less so now. Like, take, for example, a movie like Wreck-It Ralph, which was true Disney. That wasn't a Pixar film. And it was focused on gamers. And there were a lot of details that were really just for video game fans. You could go as a kid and not know about video games and enjoy the story. But I think from the adult section, like, they really focused on throwing in tons of jokes that gamers would get that other people might miss. And I think that's a more modern trend. Whereas there are older movies like if they made a movie like when they made Black Cauldron, they were focusing on teens and they didn't think about writing the story in a way that adults or young kids might get wrapped up in. They just kind of focused on here's a hit after a hit after a hit of here's these story beats, and let's make it dark for dark's sake because, you know, the Lord of the Rings is cool.
Well,
And
I think that Disney can still do dark.
Yeah.
Because in the 1940s, they did Fantasia, and they had that entire sequence with the demon.
That's true.
And I will say,
Yeah.
in thinking about a Black Cauldron, the imagery of that felt way more tame than the imagery of the Night on Bald Mountain from Fantasia.
That's true.
I think just what happened was they tried to... I think very much like Bright, I think these two movies have similar problems. They tried to lean into something, but didn't go all the way in on it.
Yeah, they were hesitant
and
they held back.
and a lot of the backstory behind Dark I keep calling it Dark Crystal, and that's gonna make sense in like 2 minutes.
Okay.
They were just like trying to lean into it, and then the head of the studio, Katzenberg, was like, nope, cut the scary stuff. And I think it didn't push the envelope enough because some of those like darker things were cut from the final edit. I think it had the opportunity, while not being maybe the greatest told story, where it was very and then, it could have actually leaned into, but it's fucking crazy and dark and weird and skeletons and stuff. And it might have, at the very least, achieved some cult status. It makes me so sad because I really wanted to view this movie as something that has the potential to have a cult following. But it was too dark for babies, but not dark enough for cult status. Which is really unfortunate because it's the characters are super cool and the idea of it is really neat. It made me super interested to look up the original novels, which are the Chronicles of Prion, maybe?
Sure.
Huron? I don't know, but I Googled it earlier today and have every intention of, at the very least, looking at the book artwork.
I'm always curious when animated films are based on books because they're often very different. Like, I didn't know until I met my spouse that there was a book for Howl's Moving Castle that the Miyazaki film is based on.
Yeah!
I just learned that now.
Yeah, and
Austin, learning things.
I have yet to read it, but, you know, talking to Sarah, my spouse, she said that they diverge very much. They are similar characters, but they are very different stories. So, what, Rachel, would be your 3-word review of The Black Cauldron?
Crappy, dark crystal. No joke, though.
Yeah.
As I was watching this, I kept thinking to myself, I've seen this movie better. It's The Dark Crystal.
That's true.
I've seen this movie done with more interesting story beats. It's called The Dark Crystal. I've seen a more interesting connection of an empowered woman sort of saving repeatedly this weirdo boy character who just wants to like have an adventure or just hang out, you know. Like, I've seen a better version of this blonde female protagonist constantly saving this brunette boy protagonist. It's called The Dark Crystal, and I shit you not, babies, when the credits were rolling for The Black Cauldron, the supervillains website queued up on Prime The Dark Crystal. It was like, next up, The Dark Crystal, and I was like, better movie for sure. No joke. There was just a lot of that going on. Just a lot of internal comparison for me between this animated feature and that really awesome puppet feature, which is really awesome. I may come back next time having watched The Dark Crystal because I fucking love that movie.
No, it's a good one.
At me, nerds, Dark Crystal, better than Labyrinth.
No, I would agree. I like Labyrinth, but Dark Crystal is a better
Dark
movie
Crystal
with
is
better characters.
A masterpiece.
Yeah.
mean, it's a handsome
I
movie,
used to
right?
scare a friend of mine because she was afraid of Lord Chamberlain. I
Yep.
used to do his Skeksis like, and it would drive her crazy.
Yep.
She just hated it. All right, moving on. Austin, dear Austin, our guest, what did you watch most recently?
I had the privilege of watching the Moulin Rouge this last weekend, and that is the last movie that I have seen. I have also seen Lego Batman recently as well. And
Well, as we had Rachel talk at length about Moulin Rouge, I would love to hear about Lego Batman, as that is a movie I've not actually seen.
What?
really,
I know. I'm missing out.
highly recommended.
All right, so we have to go spoiler free on this.
Spoiler. Oh, we do have to go spoiler.
Yeah,
on this. Okay.
because Matt hasn't seen it.
Okay, that's fair.
So
And it's still recent enough. It's going to sound strange, but it's a romantic comedy.
I mean,
yep, nope, agreed, hard agree over here. What's up?
Considering the
In the
curveballs
same
that
way,
the Lego-
Venom is a romantic comedy, though.
I've seen Venom, so I can vouch for that one.
All right.
I'm not surprised. So I did see a Lego movie, and I loved it. I'm looking forward to the sequel. Like, I love the comedy writing on it. I thought it was really well done. So hearing that Lego Batman is something I wouldn't expect, I expect that kind of curveball, because I think that, Will Arnett has cultivated everyone's inside voice Batman. Like,
Oh, absolutely.
what we all think Batman is,
Yeah.
he's kind of embodied,
Yeah.
which is more or less just a riff on Kevin Conroy and Christian Bale at the same time.
Yeah.
Yep.
But I think it's still really great. Did it follow an origin plot, or was it just a day in the life of Batman?
I think it was more a day in the life of Batman,
Okay.
or a couple weeks in the life of Batman.
Yeah.
It
If
was,
he were a Lego.
if he were a Lego, and so it still has that weird quirkiness that the Lego movie introduced. It's still very Lego.
Yeah.
Okay.
Did Lord and Miller do Lego Batman?
I don't know.
I'm actually looking this up because I need to know.
I
Continue
I
your
wanna
discussion.
I want to say yes, but yeah. So tell me a little bit about what you thought about. Well, first of all, I thought that the Lego movie had incredible animation, so I imagine Lego Batman was the same.
Oh, absolutely. It was spectacular. They do some really neat things. One of my favorite things that sticks out to me about the animation, especially in the Lego movie, is when they're on that, whenever they built that bunk bed and it's floating on the ocean, and the ocean is just all those little individual pieces of those one blue bricks.
Yeah.
So there's just a lot of things like that are really cool. They bring the Lego in the Lego movie. It's like the master builder, and so they throw that in randomly into the movie, and they don't really. They don't take time introducing it or discussing what it is. They just kind of say, "This is the world that we've established. Here it is," and so it's kind of cool. So, but it's not done in a way that if you saw this movie first, that you'd kind of be left out.
Oh, definitely not. It really leans into it's more Batman-y
Yeah.
situation. Like I don't think you see any of the characters from the Lego movie in this one. It's,
No, you
it's
don't.
really
It's
just a Batman movie.
It's just Batman.
Honestly the best Batman movie that's been made in the 2000s. Don't at me.
What I think is really interesting was their capacity to world build, which sounds ridiculous for it being a Lego movie, because now there's this small little portion that they took out of the first one and then they blew it up, and now there's the whole Batman side of Lego movie world.
Yeah.
They did a fantastic job with it.
I mean, what's funny to me as a video game player is before Lego started making movies recently, they were making a lot of games based on other properties. And Lego Batman was one of the earliest ones. It was one of my favorites also because it had the Rogues Gallery, which is what everyone... I don't care who you are. You don't want to actually play as Batman in Lego Batman. You want to play as one of the other millions of characters they let you play as. Like for me, it was Clayface, who was in the game and I love. But what I think is really interesting now is they had a Lego movie game, and now they have Lego Batman as a property. If they go back to the games, will they lean into the comedy side of it? Because I think that's really fascinating, since a lot of the early Lego games were pantomime until they started using VO from the original movies, if it's based on the original movie.
That's right.
And so I think it'd be really fun. Like, I don't know, I would play a video game where I'm controlling Will Arnett the whole time. Like,
Yeah. Do you think
I would play that.
Because they call it Lego Batman when they do just Batman as Lego. But if it's Lego Batman as a Lego game, will it be Lego Batman?
I don't know. That's a good question.
The parody of the parody.
Of the parody.
Turtles all the way down.
Did you have a favorite moment that's kind of non-spoilery in the movie?
Several, all of which are spoilers.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Feel
here's the
that.
thing. I was worried that the trailer, so I still haven't seen the movie yet. I do want to see it. I was afraid the trailer was going to ruin a lot of the best jokes.
Nope.
Because there were a lot of really good jokes in the trailer.
Oh, I never saw the trailer.
Oh, well, that's good.
I saw both, so let me be the
Okay.
litmus here.
Well, I appreciate you being the litmus.
You're welcome. Do it again.
Is it an acid or a base?
I'm all about that
if you
bass.
all about that bass. Austin, if you had to review this movie in 3 words, how would you do it? What would your 3 words be?
Ooh. Oh, that's hard, condensing things down into words.
Oh, that's hard.
Yeah. Those are 3 words.
How do you sum up 2 hours of movie in 3 words? Unprepared
We
on
do
the
it
spot.
every other week.
That's true.
Maybe you've prepared for it.
I didn't. I never do.
No,
Honestly,
we never do. We're
I
always on
never
the spot.
prepare.
Well,
Most
never
of the
mind
time,
then.
I'm just like, I'm a host on this show. I'm never prepared. I really just let my spirit take me every
Gotcha.
time.
Funky family fun.
Funky family
that's good.
fun.
I'll do
I
that.
like that.
I'll go with the
I like
alliteration.
that.
Matt, you
I
need
like
to watch
alliteration.
Lego Batman.
I do.
I'm
I'll
not.
have
Listen,
to.
I'm never gonna tell people what they need to watch.
You need to watch
Except
it.
for this one, you need to watch
Everybody.
It's-
Everybody.
it. It's for everyone.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
My 3-word
To be-
review is it's for everyone.
To be fair, I did yell at you for months to watch Venom.
I
so,
still haven't watched it.
which you still haven't.
Nope.
You're the only one left on
Scott
that
Thomas
other
owes
podcast.
me a Blu-ray DVD copy, so
Well, Austin, thank you for being a guest on our show. We really
Not a
appreciate
problem.
it.
Thank you guys for having me.
thank you.
So Rachel mentions that you are a yoga master.
Yes.
Are you a teacher of yoga, an instructor?
I am a teacher of yoga
He's taught me yoga on many occasions.
on several occasions.
Yeah.
Yeah. We should get back to
Awesome.
Yes, we should. We'll talk about that later.
How long have you been teaching yoga
that.
for?
I've been teaching yoga for about 4 or 5 years now.
Yeah.
No, 3 or 4. 3 or 4 years. I tend to
Very
overestimate things, like the number of years I've done something or my
Your
age.
Yeah, that's how that goes. I actually know very little about yoga other than the few yoga sessions I've participated in. But did you have to go to school for yoga? Did you just get certified through a program?
Yes, to go to well, not school. You do get certified through a program, but it's a 200-hour certification course.
Oh, awesome.
So
And do you get the certification while teaching?
you get it upon the completion of the course.
Got
And
it.
so right now I'm actually taking my next level of certification courses, which is for yoga therapy, which combines elements of psychology and physical therapy, and then presses them down into one super yoga person.
Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens.
I like having professionals not in the movie industry and asking them questions about things they see in movies. So yoga's in a ton of
Yeah.
movies. Like I've seen it in lots of romantic comedies and dramas
Yeah.
and, TV shows. Do you find that its representation in movies and TV are accurate? Have you ever seen a movie where you're like, that's not yoga or that's ridiculous?
That's a debate that goes on in the yoga community, which is funny.
Really?
Yeah, because
That's-
I think that the portrayal of yoga in media is exactly how it is in real life, and you get these different camps of people who are like, this is what real yoga is. No, this is what yoga is. And then there's a lot of infighting in the yoga community over what real yoga is. And then
I wonder if it's a lot to do, because I even notice infighting with yoga when people are trying to practice it. the debate over, is it a spiritual practice or is it a physical workout? Which I think is really interesting. I also imagine that because a lot of movies are made in California, and that's kind of where yoga started, if they've sort of got the lock on...
Did you just say yoga started in California?
Didn't it?
Yoga?
Didn't some California, like, dude just... I don't know. Maybe I read the wrong thing. I don't know where yoga comes from.
Well, yoga comes from India.
Maybe it was Pilates. Chinese food, as we know Chinese food, came from not China. So I just don't
very
trust
true.
anything.
Mind blown.
It didn't. General Tso's chicken is not a traditional Chinese
No,
dish.
yeah. Chinese food in China does not taste anything like our Chinese
I just
food.
imagine anything I encounter that has any other element of other countries has just been watered down and
Yeah.
fucked up by Western culture. That's all. Sorry, yoga.
I mean, it's delicious, though.
It is.
Chinese food, not yoga. I haven't eaten yoga.
If you could eat yoga,
What would it taste
would
like?
it taste like?
Patchouli.
I was gonna say feet.
It's like it tastes like a foot that has been in a shoe, but then somebody tried
Just
masking
like
the smell with
They
patchouli.
muddled it with patchouli. Yoga. Foot muddled with patchouli.
Yeah.
There you go.
But
yeah,
shifting the
elaborate more on just the general debate between like yogis and cinema representing yoga.
Well, you touched on it earlier, this idea between yoga being a purely physical practice or a spiritual practice.
Mm-hmm.
And in reality, they're both. And what you find is that one often leads to the other. Sometimes people can go their whole lives just like doing the physical practice, and that's perfectly fine. That's up to you, and you can find a teacher who's willing to teach you that. And that's yoga. Everybody figures these things out, and there's the spiritual side of it, which really connects all the aspects of ourselves. Our physical practice, our mental practice, and then our spiritual existence. That's also yoga. And in the original texts of yoga, I forget the name of it. I'm terrible.
Tao de yoga.
In the Tao de Yoga, in the original text, it describes yoga as the yoke that ties mind, body, and spirit together. And so that's what the practice of yoga is. It is like a yoke to a wheel. It is what attaches the wheel on and allows the vessel to move forward. The Yoga Sutras, that's the name of the text.
The Yoga Sutras.
The
Got
Yoga
it.
Sutras. That's the name of it. Yeah, and so there really is this philosophical concept of yoga being yoga being those three. But then I have found, and I've also been a part of this culture for a little while. I'm like, yes, this is what it is, as I sit and smoke my pipe and like act superior to everybody else. And everybody goes through these kinds of phases as well, where it's like, I have discovered the answer, and then it's like, and the answer is I don't know.
The answer is always what?
Yeah. And so yoga is very much the same thing. It's just a whole bunch of people who are standing up on a platform being like, I have the answer. And nobody does. We're all just making it up.
Isn't that just super Socratic, though? Just the first thing to knowing anything is knowing that you know nothing.
Yep.
Socrates.
True.
We're all just
I've
monkeys
gotten
in
that
yoga
far,
pants.
We're all just monkeys in all pants forever.
That's
like,
true.
Just face it. I actually would like to ask an important question that Matt may not be currently aware of. Here we go. Interview skills. I'm an imposter. So, Austin, you've spoken to me on many occasions about Togo and going to Togo and stuff you've done in Togo. I've always been curious and have never asked, and now I'm gonna wait until here, where other people are listening. Thank you, listeners, so much for hanging out with us. What first inspired you to look to Togo or to travel to Togo?
Cool. So for those of you listening who don't know where Togo is, it's on the west side of Africa. Between Ghana and Benin, below Burkina Faso. There's actually a whole bunch of really interesting political stuff going on there right now, but I'm not going to get into that. The short answer to that question is my parents told me I couldn't move home after college, and that I would have to find a job. So I joined the Peace Corps.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Awesome.
But really what had happened was I had been thinking about like trying to do some kind of like service-oriented thing for a little while, and the Peace Corps has always been something that I was thinking of doing.
Mm-hmm.
And so like I went through the whole application process, applied, and then they told me, you go there. And I was like, all right, I go there. And there I went.
So the Peace Corps just assigns you with a place to go.
Yep. You can choose your preferences with where you want to go. Regionally, I don't think you can like point out a specific nation and say, I want to go there. But you can give them your preferences of where it is that you want to go and kind of what you want to do and what you're capable of doing.
So did you give that preference, or did you just go, let the dice roll, we go where we go?
Oh, I just let the dice roll.
I love that.
I mean, I wanted to go to Africa because it's Africa.
Yeah, because there's that really great Toto song about it.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, and they bless the rains there.
Bless
Yeah.
them. Why not? Okay, so you first went to Togo through the Peace Corps, and how long were you there?
So I finished my service with the Peace Corps, which was 27 months. And then after that, I stayed for about an additional year just because I tried living there. Because it's a really cool place. And then I'm also one of those people that gets really attached to things and then has difficulties letting go. So it was a big lesson for me, and like personally in that sense.
What did you do for a year?
I tried figuring out how to make money.
That's about it.
And then I ran out, and so I moved to New York City because I could make money there. Here,
I couldn't afford Togo, so I moved to New York.
So I was gonna go to New York.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just the people. The people were just people. Mm-hmm. And so I had decided that it was like, well, if I can do something and use the skills that I have learned throughout my life and just kind of be here and share them, then why wouldn't I do that? And then now I'm just currently trying to figure out other ways of doing that without actually being there.
Yeah.
So I actually spoke with a very close friend of mine from Togo earlier today. So he's doing good. They just got electricity in our village, so we're working on bringing a little meter, and it's so cool. They have this credit system for electricity. So you know how you used to be able to buy phone credit like for $5, and then it just subtracts. They do it with electricity there.
That's amazing.
So you buy electric credit for like 1,000 SEFA, which is like $2 or $1, and then they just reduce it out of your plan. It's really cool.
That's really neat.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So you did your stint with the Peace Corps. You stayed past your stint. Have you been back to Togo since?
I have been back once, and I would like to go back again this year, but that's subject for a lot of debate. So in the next year or two, I'm starting a not-for-profit. I just need to send off the articles of incorporation, which is designed to help organizations there figure out how to run their organization. Because a lot of what happens there, because of not lack, I guess, just lower levels of education, or lower graduation rates, I guess. Kids there, like, there was these high school kids who were asking me to help them with their homework, and I was like, I have a college degree, don't ask me. Like, I am not qualified to handle I'm not qualified to handle this. What were we talking about?
Going back to Togo the next time.
Oh, yes. So a not-for-profit which helps people who have created their own organizations which are designed to help the community. It's helping them to function better as a group. So it teaches them leadership skills. It teaches them money management tactics, how to go about fundraising on these really small local levels. So that way they can get the infrastructure that they need to promote community change themselves.
It's amazing. It's really cool. Hell yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
How do we bring this back to movies, Matt?
I was actually about to. Actually, as an avid nerd, obviously if you know Rachel, you're a nerd, I'm just assuming. And as an avid movie fan and person who kind of does a little of everything do you draw any inspiration from movies? Are there movies that you've watched that have led you to want to do some of the things that you've done? Maybe not necessarily pursue yoga, but maybe inspired you to pursue a nonprofit, or inspired you to go to Togo or join the Peace Corps, or any of those kind of things?
Or do particular story beats in a particular Dungeons and Dragons campaign.
Yeah, that too.
Movies, maybe. For me, movies are definitely more quotable. They're more of a shared experience. For me, the real personal change, the real things that affect my life, come from television shows.
Yeah.
Okay.
And those,
cool.
Like in series, just one series, just one S, series. So,
Why do you feel that television has more of an impact on you as a human being versus movies?
I think you get to see more of people in a television series.
Mm-hmm.
In a movie, you only see these very short snippets of this one, like, specific story.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas in a TV show, you get to see more of the day-to-day. And it's still action-packed like a movie is, but there's more of it. There's a lot more meat to dig your teeth into.
I agree. There is a lot more humanity in a television show.
Yeah.
Where a movie is, here's the day in the life of this beleaguered cop trying to get his wife back at a tower in California on Christmas.
Gee, that sounds super specific.
What's that movie versus here's two brothers traversing across the country trying to fight ghosts and demons and malicious entities wherever they may go. Also, they're super sexy. It's fine. We'll name that one Supernatural. I helped. I did it. It's true though.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting because a lot of, like, TV was always considered the serialized item, and now movies are leaning into that with, like, the Marvel movies, and, you know, like, the Universal tried to do their Dark Universe and things like that.
And, I mean, even sequels were trying to lean into that. The problem with sequels, and we've talked about this on air, is when you make a sequel of a movie, you're preserving the status quo.
Yeah.
This character is doing the same bullshit that they did in movie one, just more of it. Versus a television show where you go season to season and you're like, oh, this person was really affected by this thing that happened to them 20 episodes ago, and they're still dealing with it. I think that's super fascinating.
What's always been interesting to me about binge watching TV shows, like what I'm doing with Suits right now, is you'll see the through line of things called back from previous seasons more easily as you binge watch it. Whereas if you're watching something week to week, I feel like you might remember those details, but it's harder because it's a longer period of time between the first episode you ever saw and the most recent one. Whereas if you're binging it, depending on how deeply you're binging, like I've gotten through the first season and a half of Suits over the last few days, there are characters who have gone and come back several times. And I'm like, oh, I know that guy. Oh, he's going to cause trouble. Like, you already know what's kind of coming. And I think that's really interesting. And I think why also things like Netflix and Hulu are thriving when they do drop full seasons, because people are consuming it like it's a movie, except it's a much broader and larger story.
And you can step away from it because it offers you credits breaks.
Right, it gives you a break. Yeah, totally.
Austin, what do you think is one of the most affecting television series for your just general human experience? Like, what's one that you cling to that sort of helps define your journey? Is that a weird question? Was that a weird way to ask that? I'm not sure.
I don't think
I'm
so.
an imposter.
I think it makes sense.
I have two.
You're fine.
Two. I love it.
Xena Warrior Princess.
Of course.
And Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Hell yes.
Ooh,
Preach
yes.
and yes. Yes, yes, yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, the funny thing about Avatar for me is, like, I was one of those assholes in college who was like, Avatar.
How dare
fake,
you?
It's fake anime. What do they know?
How
I was one of those guys, but
dare you?
But around the second to last season or so, a friend of mine sat me down. I started watching it, and I got really into it. So then I went back and watched the previous, and then was caught up by the final season. And what's fascinating about that show, and really cool that you clung to it, is I feel like it's some of the best growth storytelling in a TV show.
Yeah.
Because Aang on episode 1 versus Aang in that final episode are two almost completely different characters because of how much he's grown and changed. But at the end of the day, he's still him, but he's just evolved. And it was really fascinating to watch that arc.
Yeah. You know what other animated amazing thing does that? Steven
What's
Universe.
Steven
That
Universe
is true. Though I'm not caught up, so no spoilers.
No spoilers. But I mean, even in the seasons prior to this most recent Diamond Days, he goes from a needful child, I need my particular ice cream sandwich, to self-sacrificing, to calm and collected and empathetic. It's amazing. And Aang is a similar journey, like going from a child to a cognizant human who goes, ooh, decisions I make affect those around me. I should make the best decisions I can. Superman.
Yeah. The like going on about like his character development. In the first season, the universe is saved by the spirit world. Whenever he merges with the spirit of the night.
Spoilers for Avatar.
Yeah.
In the second season, the universe is saved by Katara. And in the third season, he finally is the one who gets to save it.
Yeah.
And so that's what I think is one of the most interesting things. Because he always saves the day in the episodes, but these really big, whenever the stakes are really heavy, he can't actually do it until the very end. And so, like, it just plays up into that development. He does have excellent development, and it's a great show for everybody, and I highly recommend it.
Yeah. What I love about that show, too, is the fact that my favorite shows of any kind are shows that heavily lean on comedy in the early seasons and then transform into these beautiful dramas. You know, and the thing about, even in the final season, there are still funny moments, but in the last few episodes of that final season, there aren't really. Like, there's still levity and there's still lightness and happiness, but it's just it built to something. And like Rachel, you're talking about Steven Universe did the same thing. Like I almost stopped watching it halfway through the first season because it was just goof after goof.
It was following the MO of your Uncle Grandpa's, your early Adventure Time. So it was like, here's a silly thing that we're going to do for 10 minutes. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, Buffusion. Oh, no.
Yeah, it just, if you stick, what I like about animated shows like that is when you stick with it and you're rewarded for your patience.
Very much so.
You know, there's not a ton of TV shows, I feel like now, at least for me, that I really latch onto because I feel like I was rewarded for watching them. I feel like on the air now, there are a few, and they're mostly comedies, like The Good Place.
Yeah, I was gonna say The Good Place. That one is the most Alton Brown, your patience will be rewarded show I've seen in years.
Well, the fascinating thing for me as a podcaster about The Good Place is that The Good Place podcast started halfway through the last season or the season before. And they recap it, like during the break, recapped all the previous seasons, caught up, and then stayed with every episode. And every week there was a new episode and then a new podcast about that episode. And what's really fascinating is it invests you in that world. And every time I hear the creators and the writers talk about it, they're always like, yeah, sometimes we don't know where we're going to go, but they still get there.
Yeah.
And like the way the most recent season ended, I won't spoil it, but like, I totally didn't see it coming. And I haven't seen a lot of those moves coming. And I think that's what I loved about Avatar, to focus on. You know, I know you had two options, but Avatar is the one I'm more familiar with. I didn't see that final season ending the way it did coming. Like, I knew that eventually the Fire Nation was going to be the bad guy. Fire Nation's the bad guys. They were going to have to pay. But, like, everything with Zuko and his turn and, like, his grandfather and, like, just everything that built up to that final season, I couldn't have predicted that if you had just asked me to theorize, and that's what made it so satisfying.
Yeah. Just talking about character development and how good it is too. Azula's downfall. how
Yes.
once her friends betray her,
Yeah.
it's downhill from there.
Yep.
Yeah.
And she just
No, absolutely.
loses it. It's so good.
Yeah.
Once she
Yeah.
realizes that she can't control everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is why I think we are in an interesting golden age of animation. And I'm so sad constantly to know that when I talk animation, a hard huge swath of our population is like, "Oh, that kid stuff." And it's like, "No. Animation is really reaching towards some things that traditional like television and movie making just aren't doing. Like we're dealing with grief or with change, or to bring it back to the Black Cauldron, with being thrust into adventure in a way that I don't think other things are doing. I think while the storyline of the Black Cauldron is super by the book, I guess, weird, and I haven't seen Bright, but I can imagine, because it is given the carte blanche on the visuals, the Black Cauldron is probably a superior film to Bright, because it has the ability to gear itself toward simplicity in a way that I think live action has to like really complicate things and be like, oh, we're so gritty and edgy and here's all this exposition. But at the very least, Black Cauldron just goes. Like, it starts and it goes and it ends, versus a lot of modern creations where it's like, we go, but then we like circle back, and also there's a twist, and it's really complicated, and it's cut really fast, and then all of a sudden you're on absinthe and you're in the Moulin Rouge and you're just like, what's happening? You know, it's weird how much more incomprehensible, big quotations, adult media is.
Yeah.
To the point that it's almost too complicated. And animation sort of does the same job, but does it more efficiently.
Keeps it simple.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, like, I was the first to say after I saw it finally that if Enter the Spider-Verse were a live-action movie, it would have not gone as well and probably been panned.
Yeah.
The fact that they were able to do what they did is because they made an animated movie with relatable characters that everyone could enjoy.
Yep.
Yeah.
And what's bonkers is Sony, that's all Sony ever wanted to do with Spider-Man. Since the first movies, they just wanted to make a relatable character that people would identify with and get on board with. And they were pseudo-successful with the first trilogy, failed, I'd say, fairly miserably with the second two movies, and now they're trying it again. And I like what the MCU version of Spider-Man is, but I still say that Enter the Spider-Verse is the best version of Spider-Man we've ever gotten, because they weren't afraid to try.
Yeah, and and that's why I will say Lego Batman is the best Batman that I can see, because it's the humanity of this guy who just is trying to connect and try and move past trauma. You know, I love it.
Yeah, very much so.
I think that animation just does it not better. I won't say they do it better, but they do the things more efficiently.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Because they have to, because animation is for kids, and that's another big air quote. It's for kids, but
also kids will know when you're lying.
Exactly.
Like, you have to be, you really have to be on point whenever you're performing for kids or presenting something to kids, because if they're not captivated by it, and if they don't understand it, and if they know you're full of BS, they're going to lose interest, and they're just going to...
Yeah. And they'll call you on it, too,
Yeah.
because they don't ascribe to the real life, like, oh, I have to pretend to play nice or be nice. Like, most kids, if they see bullshit, they call it.
Yeah, that's great.
And it's why I think a lot of animated movies and shows are being made more smartly now, because those kids grew up.
Yeah.
You know, like, you know, Rebecca Sugar is not a kid, but she's not one of an old timer either.
No,
she's a younger creator.
She's a product of Batman the Animated Series as much as we are.
Very much so.
Yeah, and so I think that's what makes most modern animation so interesting, is that we're at a time where we're getting to see our contemporaries make the things that we all grew up watching. And I think that's really fascinating.
Also, just a reminder, animation still, even though our contemporaries are creating it, it's not always for us. So don't be a dick about it.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, the 50-year-old white man who cried wolf on the Thundercats show,
Yeah.
that wasn't going to be for them. Take a hike.
Yeah,
Nobody cares.
Get on my level or get the fuck out.
You don't have to like I am someone who's let go of the fact that not all video games are for me.
No.
I like a lot of video games, but if there's a sequel to a sequel to a sequel of a series that I've loved forever and I don't like it, oh well.
Yeah,
I'll criticize it if there are actual flaws with the game.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to say you can't like this thing because I don't like it because it changed.
Yeah.
Like, that's not on me.
I don't think I'll ever be team Uncle Grandpa, but I also understand that Uncle Grandpa is not for me.
Same.
You
yeah,
know,
absolutely.
and that's fine. You know, there's plenty of animation out there. None of the things that were created when I was young have disappeared or been destroyed. I don't like the new Thundercats. You know what? You can watch the old Thundercats. You know what? It's pretty terrible though. We're being real.
Also, if you're a modern male saying you hate the new She-Ra, bash your head with a rock.
Just stop. Just don't. Just don't.
Because it's incredible. And if you spent more than 5 minutes watching the show, I've consumed the whole season.
Oh, it's great.
It's wonderful. And if you want to at me, don't at me.
Yeah,
I don't care.
Have you seen the new She-Ra?
I have not. I haven't even seen the original.
It's okay.
Oh, you don't have
Fuck
to.
the original.
Yeah.
It was at the time when the U.S. government had deregulated cartoons for children.
Oh.
At a time before this, cartoons and children's programming were specifically regulated to be educational and interesting and stuff. And around the time of your Transformers and your He-Mans and She-Ras and
Gotcha.
and your probably Ninja Turtles, I would say.
I think so. Yeah.
That regulation of these pieces of content need to be informative or educational, and they sort of transcended past that toward the capitalist. And it was, here's 20-minute long toy commercials. Look how cool it is when Optimus Prime changes into a truck.
Yep.
You can buy it at your local department store. And so a lot of I think a lot of the story elements in that particular time of animation aren't that great, which is why you revisit them and you go, oh, well, this is really stupid.
This is not good.
This is
It was
terrible.
clear to sell toys.
Exactly. It was just like, look how cool this is. And you can still see that in some things. Like if you've ever watched Glitter Force or Pretty Cure, as it is in Japan, it is very much like, here's the makeup pad. It does magic, which stinks, but also I love Glitter Force. Don't at me. But it was a weird time in our youth when cartoons weren't what they are now, where they're actually trying to tell interesting, overarching stories. But yeah, so don't.
And look,
long story short, don't watch the old She-Ra. That's why.
Yeah.
But watch the new
You only need to
She-Ra and
watch
the
the new
Princess
one.
of Power. It's great.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I think. Look, I loved all those shows that were selling me toys, and I bought all the toys. But I think, Michael Bay has done something with Transformers.
He's
Love
done
it or hate it.
something for sure.
Well, look, if you don't like it, that's fine. But it's not any less valued than the originals because they still just sell in toys.
Yeah.
And if the new Bumblebee proved anything, and I still haven't seen it, it's that you can make great stories with these characters. But Hasbro wasn't interested in that. They wanted big, flashy robots to sell toys, which is what the originals were. And modern cartoons are still doing that, but they're doing it smarter, and they're making content that's actually got substance.
Yeah.
And so if you don't like them remaking stuff for the marketing side, then why did you buy all the toys you did growing up? Like, it's that simple.
Yeah.
That's what a lot of this stuff is for. And the fact that they can make such brilliant art and still sell stuff to kids is what is kind of fascinating and interesting and has always been interesting about animation to begin with.
Yeah, you could say that animation is in its 5th edition because it's focused more on storytelling
Womp womp.
over mathematics.
D&D joke. We have one final one final question for you, Austin. Before we get to that, though, Rachel has some people to thank, and so do I.
Yes. Thank you so very much to John Presnell for the use of our song Aurora off the album Fair Game featuring Stefan Remble.
I also would love to thank Katie Bug for our logo that Rachel re-dyed her hair pink to match that logo.
No. Don't
No,
think that I'm regressing. I am in a renaissance, motherfucker.
You are in a renaissance. I will agree.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It
Your hair
is
is
a
fabulous.
different hair. It is a different me. It is a different animation set.
That's
We
true.
look gorgeous. Don't change it,
We do.
Katie. Don't change it.
No, never change
Yes,
it.
thank you. And thank you so much to our listeners for hanging
Yes.
out with us for all these episodes. What is this, 13?
This will be number 13.
Holy shit, 13. We did it. We're a real teen now. Everybody
we are.
dab.
It's true. Oh, God.
But thank you so much. Hang out with us. Continue the conversation. We are on Twitter at @screen_snark.
You can also find us on Facebook and Tumblr. And if you'd like to join in the actual conversation we're having every day, we have a Discord server with the rest of the Certain Point of View folks, which is the network we joined. All you have to go to certainpov.com, and the top banner will take you right to our Discord server, and you can chat with us. You can suggest us movies to talk about, guests to have on the show, cases compiling all of our 3-word reviews, and as well, we'd love to hear your 3-word reviews on the
Exactly.
Discord
Yeah,
server.
and please check out Certain POV. They've got a lot of great shows on the network. There's the new Superman podcast, which we talked about last episode, Men of Steel. There's Scruffy Nerf Herders, again, which we talked about last episode, an actual play, D&D, Star Wars podcast. There's Reignite, which is the Mass Effect podcast hosted by Matt Storb and MJ.
Yep.
You're
There's also me.
welcome.
Thank you. We also have Fun and Games with Jeff and Matt, which is also a podcast I do. It's all about more generalized video game stuff. We jump into all different sorts of topics. There's, of course, the flagship show, which is called Certain Point of View, which I dubbed the Sometimes Star Wars podcast, because there isn't always Star Wars news to talk about.
So stop listening to us right now and go to that
And
website.
go listen to those other shows.
You can do both. We have
can.
smartphones. Anyway, thank you all so much for hanging out
Yes.
with us, living your lives, enjoying media in the same way we do. But to the task at hand. Surprise, surprise. I didn't tell him this. We always end this show with one question, an important question, a question that will define you on the internet going forward. It won't really. It's fine. Live your life. Have fun with this. There are many movie tropes in the world of cinema. If you could choose one, just one, that could manifest itself and be true in your life, what movie trope would you choose to implement in your day-to-day?
When you meet somebody in, like, the 1950s, and then you just go outside on the patio and dance.
Ooh, instant dance parties. I like
The
that.
dance number.
Yeah.
You just
Yeah.
know. You know the move.
Yeah, it's like the best things happen while you're dancing from White Christmas.
White Christmas.
Oh, yeah.
Ah,
Yeah.
yes.
That kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Excellent. Good answer.
Yeah. Thank you. I love that. Let's all dance after this. Let's have a dance
Yeah.
party.
Sure, let's actually do that.
Yeah, we're gonna. Just like we got
thank you.
tacos last time.
Thank you so much, as always, for listening. This is a blast.
Yeah.
We love doing this for you guys. If you have a moment, feel free to go to our Facebook page or iTunes or wherever you write about your podcasts and throw us a 5-star review or a review of any kind.
Yeah.
We love to really hear from you
Yeah,
guys, and we love to see those.
And Austin, where can we find you on the internet?
You can find me at yogaforeveryone.else.com. And then also Instagram, Yoga for Everyone Else.
Awesome.
Thank you so
much, Austin,
Not
for
a problem.
joining us.
Thank you guys for having me.
Thank you so much, DJ Matt Stormageddon.
Thank you so much, Rachel Quirky Shank. This is always a pleasure for you guys and for us.
Always a delight. And listeners, we'll see you at the movies.
Aurora, 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 metal to
snapped. I almost snapped every time.
I know.
I shouldn't close out the show because I always want to snap.